I just walk in the argument to one-way, why you mad? Girl, why you was sick? I do not want that. Came home to you only, you stuck like glue. If I caught that Hellcat, girl, you get one too. For me and you, I want you, I love you. Can I touch you? I rub, let me love you. Put my dreams to the side only cause I trust you. Girl, I trust you, I love you, won't judge you.
What's going on? Velocity back with a new week of stuff to talk about. A new week of football, some basketball stuff, all kinds of things. Would you like to say anything to the people, Sean?
Yeah, hello everyone. Back at you another week. Some good stuff to talk about. Well, good stuff for some, not so good for others. Let's just say, unfortunately, my 76ers are making it hard for me to like really support the organization right now, but we'll get into it later.
Yeah, where are those 4 first-round picks? Anyway, all right. So let's start with football. Good week. The only thing we won't, excuse me, the only thing we won't talk about is the Raiders versus Chargers game because that is tonight. So let's start with Thursday night. You had the Jaguars versus the Bengals. Joey Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. They faced each other in college, in the college football playoff. And again, Joe Burrow gets the best of Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars were up for a while, but Joe Burrow and company prevailed. They tried to zero blitz him. He got to where he needed to be, and they win 24-21. Good game from Joe Burrow. James Robinson had a good game as well for the Jaguars. It's nice to see. Trevor Lawrence wasn't bad either. So decent rookie performance from Trevor Lawrence. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but threw for 200 yards, 17-24. Number 1 overall pick. Not a bad game. Um, Moving forward, I want to start with the 4 o'clock game actually. So Steelers versus Packers. Another absolutely awful game from Ben Roethlisberger. Um,
Is he getting too old now, you think?
so 3 or 4 years ago, he was mulling retirement, and here we are. One of the most telling things he said at one point was a couple years ago. I believe he lost to the Jaguars in the playoffs. Um, he said maybe it's time to retire. I don't know, or something like that. So clearly, he's not. He doesn't have his head all the way in. It's expected that this is going to be his final year. I know last year he was considering retirement, but he threw for 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Did okay, but here's the thing. For a guy that's going to be guaranteed leaving your team next year, what's the point of getting mediocrity out of your quarterback? Like, instead of starting, you have Dwayne Haskins, who was from Ohio State, who was a bust for Washington football team. He left. He was cut. He was a first-round pick, so you don't know really much about him. He's young. And then you have Mason Rudolph, who's also young. Why not see what you can get out of them? Start playing them because the season's pretty much lost. You started this season 1-3. You got to change something. I also said a couple months ago when Sam Darnold was still on the Jets that the Steelers should trade for him because Juju Smith-Schuster and Sam Darnold were college teammates and they get along really well. Sam Darnold was cheap. Here we are. The Panthers are 3-1. Steelers are 1-3. So that's all I got to say about that. Packers played well. Aaron Rodgers played exceptional as usual. Randall Cobb had 2 touchdowns as well. Nice to see him back in a Packers uniform. Getting some action. So next, let's talk about the Jets. Jets versus Titans faced King Henry, Derrick Henry, who had 160 rushing yards on us. Don't know what you're supposed to do with someone who's like 6'2", like 260 pounds, all muscle.
That's light work.
For a running back, excuse me. Um, So he played really well, 160 yards. Julio Jones, though, and A.J. Brown were both not playing for the Titans. They end up losing on a 49-yard field goal to tie in overtime. It would have only been a tie to end the game, but they end up losing instead, missing the field goal. Jets get the win. Zach Wilson played really well in the second half, threw 3 deep throws that were perfectly accurate. Finally, nice to see the number 2 overall pick and the Jets rookie quarterback start playing closer to his skill level. Next, let's see. Oh, and by the way, Jets defense had 7 sacks that game. Poor Ryan
Wow.
Tannehill was getting the business. All right, let's move on to Bills versus Texans. I'm really not going to talk too much about this one. There's not much to say. The Bills won 40-0, so rough game for the Texans. Got absolutely obliterated. Davis Mills threw 4 picks. A rookie quarterback. He had a QBR of 0.8. 0.8 out of a scale of 158.3. He had 0.8.
Oh, what does QBR stand for?
QB rating.
Oh, what if that stat measure? Like your pass accuracy, is that it?
Like your pass accuracy, how many times you took sacks, how many times you threw interceptions, how many times you completed the pass.
So for a quarterback, is that the equivalent to player efficiency rating in basketball?
Yeah, and it
Okay.
was extremely low. 0.8 was absolutely
Okay.
atrocious.
What's usually a good number you want?
Here I'm gonna get you a good figure real quick. Actually, I don't have to look far. Josh Allen, who played great for the Bills. Well, Josh Allen played all right. He had a 60 overall QBR. He threw an interception and he got sacked once, so it's not as high. The backup completed 1 pass and didn't take a sack, and he had a 99 QBR. I think that one's out of 100. I could be wrong.
Okay.
And then there's a regular rating that goes up to 158.3. But the guy had 0.8. He had 60 passing yards and he had 4 interceptions. So he played really abysmally.
Wow.
It was a rough game. Bills win, go to 3-1. Shout out to Josh Allen, played a good game. They forced 5 turnovers, that Bills defense. So next, let's talk about Bears versus Lions. Justin Fields, another rookie to talk about. Justin Fields looked awful in his debut, but a lot of people blamed it on the play calling. A lot of it wasn't favoring his abilities, whether it be scrambling from the pocket or setting up good throws on the run for him. This week he was a little bit better. He passed for 200 yards, 11 out of 17, but he did throw 1 pick, no touchdowns. He had a 75 QBR, looked pretty good. However, David Montgomery, the running back, had 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, so that's the main focal point. Darryl Mooney with 120 receiving yards. So shout out to Justin Fields, looked way better today. I thought the Lions would win this game. Jared Goff had 2 touchdowns, had a bunch of incompletions though, 35 QBR. Rough week for them. I mean, rough season, 0-4. Colts versus Dolphins. Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, going against his former team, the Colts. Ends up losing. He had a decent performance. Carson Wentz outplayed him, though. 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor played really well, too. Running back, 100 rushing yards. Colts win 27-17, get their first win of the season, move to 1-3. Dolphins move to 1-3 as well with the loss. I'm going to try to only go over some of the really important games. The Giants versus the Saints. Another New York team winning in overtime. Daniel Jones, or should I say Danny Dimes, 400 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 70 QBR. So he played very well. Saints defense has done well the first few weeks. Jameis Winston doesn't play great, and they end up losing the game.
Maybe it's time to make a switch.
For who?
You go from the Jets to the Giants.
I'm sorry, we're both 1-3. I don't need to switch to anything. Alvin Kamara too played really well, 120 yards. Taysom Hill had 2 touchdowns. Great win though for the Giants. They were down for a while too. They were losing, I think 21-10, and they ended up coming back to win. So good game to watch. Chiefs versus Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Straight into the ground. 42-30.
Well, we had a good excuse. We were up against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. You know who else was up against Patrick Mahomes in fantasy football? Me. And he had 35 points because he threw 5 touchdowns. Still got the win. Thank goodness. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 100 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts played well. He threw 2 touchdowns. He had 16 incompletions on 48 attempts. 40 QBR. It's a little bit low. Devontae Smith had over 120 receiving yards. I mean, the Eagles shouldn't have had a chance of winning that game. So, in fairness to them, it's okay. They gave a good fight. It's unfortunate though; they've lost a lot of close games, and they are now 1-3. Their record does not. I mean, their performances do not reflect that record though. Browns versus Vikings, very defensive battle. Browns won 14-7. Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb. Dalvin Cook was only held to 34 rushing yards. He only had 9 attempts though. Nick Chubb had 100 rushing yards on 21 attempts. Very ground and pound game between the running backs for the most part. Kirk Cousins had the most passing yards in the game with only 200. The defense is really shy though. 14-7. Browns move on to 3-1, and Minnesota moves to 1-3. Let's see next. Cowboys versus Panthers. Panthers were undefeated, 3-0 going into this game. I predicted the Cowboys to win. I believe you did as well. Yeah. Carolina missing arguably the best running back in the league in Christian McCaffrey. Sam Darnold, former Jet, guy who's been performing great since he's not been on the team. 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but he kept them in the game for a majority of it. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns, so Sam Darnold had 4 touchdowns alone. He was sacked 5 times, though. Dak Prescott was very efficient. He threw 22 passes, that's it. Most QBs do 35, 40. He threw 22 passes. He completed 14 of them, and he had 4 touchdowns on 180 yards. So he didn't throw much, but when he did, it was all touchdowns. Looked really good. Ezekiel Elliott also had 150 rushing yards. Seeing him show up again. He had a really slow start to the season. Touchdowns across the board for Cooper, Schultz, Wilson, and Jarwin. Overall, good game, though. I got to see a bit of that. Dak played, like I said, extremely efficient and accurate. Didn't throw the ball much. Sam Darnold looked great, and then a lot of ground and pound for Ezekiel Elliott. Ravens versus Broncos. The Broncos are another 3-0 team. I think we both predicted the Ravens.
Yes, we did. Lamar.
Yeah, here's the thing. Denver is 3-0, but the 3 teams that they faced going into this week were 0-9 combined. So it wasn't like they were facing very talented teams. Jets and Giants included. So I think after the Ravens beat the Chiefs, it was a pretty easy pick for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson threw for 300 yards, rushed for another 30. Latavius Murray ran for 60 yards. That's their backup running back they brought in, but J.K. Dobbins tore his Achilles. Good game by them. Teddy Bridgewater did okay. 7-16 passing for 65 yards and a touchdown. Drew Lock came in, the backup. 113 yards passing. An interception. Did not great either. Rough performances from both. They both got sacked a lot too. I'm not certain. Let me just double check. Yeah, okay, so Teddy Bridgewater ended up getting a concussion, the quarterback. Might be out next week, we'll see. That's why Drew Lock came in. I wanted to make sure Bridgewater wasn't benched, because that wouldn't have made sense. He earned that starting spot.
Yeah.
Let's see, did I miss any other games? Cardinals versus Rams. Rams are 3-0 as well. Go into Arizona came to LA against the Rams. Both teams are 3-0. Cardinals end up getting the win. Everyone thought the Rams were going to be the best team in the league. They just beat the Bucs and Tom Brady. Arizona gets the win. Kyler Murray, 2 touchdowns, 270 passing yards. Good running day for Chase Edmonds, 120 rushing yards. AJ Green also played well with Jalen Ramsey covering DeAndre Hopkins for most of the game. Overall, good game. Matt Stafford threw a couple touchdowns. He did have one pick though, and it was an okay performance. They just the better team won. That's all. And then finally, let's go to Buccaneers versus Patriots. It was a closer game than everyone expected. I think everyone expected the Bucs to blow out the Patriots. The Bucs are a better team. However, Mac Jones impressed a lot of people. The rookie quarterback for the Patriots he threw 40 passes. He completed 31 of them for 2 touchdowns, 275 passing yards, and a 50 QBR. He had one pick, but an overall good performance. He made a few mistakes, but he looked really good for a rookie quarterback. Tom Brady, it was Tom Brady. He threw for 270 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Very much a running game. Ronald Jones scored a touchdown. Very defensive too. Richard Sherman also signed with the team, the Bucs, this week, so it was cool to see him on the field. He was a free agent because he's getting a bit old, and then there was an issue where he broke down a door while he was drunk on his rant. But I believe he's seeing a mental health specialist for that. And they said it was just a minor slip up. He's a very smart man. 4.0 student from Stanford. By the way, he represents himself. I think we talked about this as an agent.
And we also know how intelligent he is because as a 23-year-old, which basically our age at the time, he went on ESPN for his stake and ended Skip Bayless's ESPN career.
Sure did. He played okay tonight. The thing is, he's a 6'5" corner, and he's also like 35 years old. So what does that mean? When you're going against people like Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, these are some of the faster people in the league. He blew coverage a bit. He's usually a zone corner. He was always playing zone when he was in Seattle and San Francisco because he's a big dude, so they would only have him play his zone. Man-to-man, he's a little bit slower, so it's hard to stay on a guy. So there was a couple missed catches there, but he also had a fumble recovery. But it was a good overall performance for his debut. He didn't look too bad. So it's cool to see him back on the field. Bucs get the win. Patriots miss a field goal, 56 yards instead of going for it on 4th and 3. I disagree with the call. I think they could have gotten that first down. But good game overall. Bill Belichick gave Tom Brady everything he could because he gave him a lot of different looks too. He was doing constant switches on defense to give him different scheme looks, so it was hard to determine what they were really running. He was trying to throw a bunch of tricks at Tom Brady, and Tom Brady kind of figured him out. So overall, great game. They both played. Outstanding coaching from Bill Belichick and a good performance from Brady. And every bit of entertaining that we wanted. So too bad we won't see that in the Super Bowl because Patriots are never going to make it there without Tom Brady.
Well, for a while.
For a while, at least, yes. I think I covered everything. Oh, Seahawks 49ers. Seahawks got the win as well. It's worth talking about. Russell Wilson, who just lost to the Vikings for whatever reason, shows up and beats the 49ers. I believe Garoppolo got hurt at one point, and Trey Lance came in, their rookie. He threw for 2 touchdowns, but a bunch of incompletions. He had a decent game, though. Deebo Samuel with 160 receiving yards again looks really good. Seattle gets to win 28-21. And that is, I believe, it. Oh, and Washington football team beat Atlanta. Atlanta blew the lead again. Matt Ryan played well. And Taylor Heineke came back and won the game. 34-30. Great game on Thursday. Looking forward, great game on Thursday. Rams versus Seahawks. Can't wait to see that. 3-1 versus 2-2. Rams should get to win, but it is in Seattle. Jets versus Falcons in London. The game starts at 9 a.m. Luckily, it's the Falcons' technical home game, so we don't lose a home game for that garbage. Listen, I like entertaining London. I know a lot of people watching a a lot of people over there like to watch the games, and they usually sell out at, I think it's Wembley Stadium. They do 3 games a year, but they usually sell out, and everyone likes to see football over there as well. Unfortunately, since the Jets are garbage, they like to send garbage teams over there, which I feel bad for. It's never really usually a good matchup. So they get to see the bottom of the barrel between the Jets and the Falcons. Hopefully the Jets can get the win though. We move to 1-3, so if we win, we can go to 2-3. Go from there. Any other notable games? Giants versus Cowboys, great rivalry. That'll be interesting. 4 o'clock. 49ers Cardinals, that'll be good. Bills versus Chiefs at 8 o'clock. That is the game to watch. That out of all the games next week, if you could watch only one, watch that one. 8 o'clock on Sunday. Josh Allen, Bills defense, really good, going up against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. Who do your Eagles face? Panthers. They're 3-1, so that should be an interesting matchup. That's pretty much it. Just out of all the notable matchups. Colts versus Ravens on Monday night. Not really a big game. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about with football. Good week. All the New York teams won. I also want to give a shout out to the Yankees. They clinched yesterday, clinched the playoffs. If they lost, they would have been out. They're in the wild card game. Who advances into the rest of the playoffs? And you know who they go up against? It's on Tuesday. They go against the Red Sox. Yankees versus Red Sox. The winner goes through the playoffs. The other one gets eliminated. One game. So.
Hey, you know what? It's up to the Yankees to keep New York relevant in sports.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully, the Yankees can keep us relevant. And while the Jets and the Giants fail to do that, shout out to Buffalo. Hate the Bills, but they're doing that as well.
Everyone forgets that they're New York, though.
Yeah. Some will say the Islanders, but I hate the Islanders, so we'll brush off that for the hockey realm.
Wait. Well, there's also the Brooklyn Nets. They're keeping New York relevant.
Sorry. Almost threw up a bit. All right, yeah, I think that's all I got to talk about for football and other sports. If we want to dive into some basketball.
All right. I'm going to save the best for last, everyone. First, we got to bring up my boy, Michael Porter Jr. He got his payday. He lived the American dream. 5-year, $200+ million. I think it was like 205 million, something like that. Now, I got to say, everyone, I'm a fan of Michael Porter Jr. I like him a lot, but I have a problem with that contract. I think it's too much for him at this point in time because like a 5-year, $200 million contract, if you look at it since it's these massive contracts in recent years, look at the kind of players you get that size of contracts. A Steph Curry, a James Harden. Oh God, there's so many. There are a couple others. Giannis. Like that's the type of money you throw at your franchise centerpieces. That's the type of money. I'm not sure what Jokic's contract is. It's off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but that's the type of money on the Denver Nuggets that should only be reserved for Nikola Jokic right now. So I think it's too soon to be giving him that money because you're essentially paying him like a franchise centerpiece. And I'm not predicting this, but this is almost like a certain team prematurely paying a certain supposed young talent. But I'm not gonna go into there right now. Michael Porter Jr. He did elevate his level of play. He is shown that he's continually improving. But this actually just entered my mind too. You're kind of giving him the leap over Jamal Murray already.
So I know the contract was a lot of money, and I actually like the signing. My perspective is he's 23 years old. They already see the loads of potential, so they're anticipating him to get even better. So my assumption is that they're worried whenever he was going to become a free agent, I think it was either next year or the year after, if they didn't extend him. I think from my understanding is they understand that the salary will probably go up, so they'll have to pay him more. And then I'm pretty sure that they would be concerned that they wouldn't be able to maintain him if someone wanted to, pay him to be the star of the team or the centerpiece of the team. So they wanted to extend him now in hopes that he stays and develops at Denver over the next 5 years instead of losing him in a year or two. Um,
I, I know, but I'm saying like maybe even this is still pretty big, but I think maybe like of 150 million would have been
yeah.
would have been enough to keep him.
Well, I'm wondering if the agent told them that they weren't going to sign for anything else. The interesting thing is I'm pretty sure the NBA only allows for 2 supermax contracts. So that's one of them. It was labeled a supermax contract. So
Oh yeah.
now you can only pay one person. You're assuming it's going to be Jokic. Now that means that you're going to have to pay near the maximum contract for Jamal Murray, and hope he accepts it, or you're going to lose Jamal Murray altogether. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting scenario. I think they were worried that if they didn't pay Michael Porter Jr., they were going to lose him. So they value him very highly, which I thought was a bit interesting. But I don't know where Jamal Murray's value is to the Nuggets organization if they're going to
Yeah.
kick him to the side.
Yeah, because I think it's also because he got injured too, so that would probably play a role. I
Yeah.
just hope in terms of like the players, I hope Jamal doesn't take it as a slight because I don't want to see him leave the Nuggets.
No, neither do I. Um, it's unfortunate though. That's one of those teams where even with all 3 of them, unless Michael Porter takes some massive steps in the next year or two, I don't see them going anywhere. Like I see them going 2 rounds into playoffs and that's it.
Honestly, what we need, if we can see bubble Jamal Murray from now on in the playoffs, the championship is in their near future.
Bubble Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. stepping up to
Yeah, pretty
like
basically the way he played when Jokic fouled out that game against the Suns.
yeah, step up to like Jaylen Brown level. I think is a reasonable place to put it.
Yeah.
If he could do what Jaylen Brown does performance wise, then I think they'll be okay.
Yep.
So what else do we got? I know we don't want to get to the big topic yet.
I mean, if there nothing else to put in between, we can go to it.
Trying to think if there's anything. I mean, we know Wiggins got his COVID vaccine. Um, there's also sources going around that Kyrie will be receiving pay cuts for every game he misses.
Thank you. Wait, is it the NBA protocol doing that, or is it specifically the Nets? Do you know?
So here's how the article reads. Nets Kyrie Irving could lose millions according to NBA and NBA players agreement on salary reduction for unvaccinated players who miss games due to local COVID-19 vaccine mandates.
Finally, you see, Kyrie, this is called accountability. This is called you don't work, you don't get paid. Welcome back to reality. Welcome back to capitalism. Welcome back to corporate America.
um so there's that. Um Carmelo is on a whatever you need basis for the Lakers, is what he told the press today or yesterday. So he said he doesn't care what his role is as long as he does whatever they need to win. So he might be okay with getting 5 minutes from the sounds of it, but I think he'll get more than that.
Okay.
I think other than that, I think it's
Oh,
time to.
actually, I just remembered. What did you think of on media day, like Russell Westbrook saying that he thinks it's his job to like push Anthony Davis be the
I
best version of himself this year?
I thought it was interesting. I also think that I think I guess it's okay, but I don't think it was necessary to tell the media. Um, that makes it seem, and I know this isn't what's trying to be perceived, but that makes it sound like AD needs to push and he can't do that on his own, which I don't think is necessarily true. I think he's a very motivated player. So I think it comes off to the press as like, oh, so he needs pushing. So like I guess Westbrook's going to be doing that. Um, I thought that
Yeah,
was, I don't know. I thought it was unnecessary to say.
yeah, because I think Vogel said AD doesn't necessarily need necessarily to be pushed, but I think they also said something along these lines. When AD is really firing at all cylinders, like he can really make a case for being like the best player
Yeah.
like in the world. Like I mean, I've said it myself. Like, I'm a huge Anthony Davis fan, but the big criticism, like I've always had with him, is like in the fourth quarter of games, it's not like where Embiid's case, for example, where he makes bad decisions with the ball and costing games. It's like he's just not as active enough on the offense. Like it's like
He
he's
doesn't want
become
the
a bit
ball as
more.
much.
Yeah, he gets more passive.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's like he never cheats him on the defensive end. Defense, he's always there to rebound him, but offensively, it's like he doesn't command the ball enough. And I know that when in the year they won the championship, LeBron made it his mission to keep feeding AD in those closing moments. So maybe that's what Westbrook is saying. Like because obviously nobody could deny the insane skill he has. I guess they want to keep trying to feed him, like keep like pushing him in the sense saying, AD, like this is your moment, go get it. Like
Yeah.
I think it's that kind of push because again he is wow. If he's the only one in the team that's really on in his prime. He's not the youngest, but he's actually among the youngest on the team. LeBron and Westbrook are like older, so I think it's like older brother push
Yeah.
maybe.
I think it is trying to get more of that fiery attitude where you can see him like getting upset or angry on the court, like which is what they want from him. But at the same time, I know a lot of those guys. I think this is just in all of sports. You could always appreciate like the big brother type vibe, but there's also the other side of the spectrum where you like Kyrie with the big brother LeBron when they were together, where it's too much and it feels like he might overshadow him or just tell him everything to do. And I think that it could be a mix of either one. I think AD might want to be able to command the team himself, and that's not in a selfish way, but I think he's capable of
Mm,
doing a lot of the things that not that Russ can do, but he's in his prime too, and I think that he can contribute more than Russ can. So I feel like he might want to,
mm.
not be told what to do from Russell Westbrook in that regard.
Yeah, it's funny because on Undisputed Skip Bayless, it's like I cannot believe Russell Westbrook had the audacity to say that it's him. But
It's
yeah, he's making it into something
yeah,
that
no,
is not. Yeah,
it's not that extra.
yeah.
All I'm saying is like Kyrie with LeBron, some people want a little bit more space to be able to do their own thing, and I think Kyrie wanted more control of his own game
Yeah.
too. Um,
I mean, but I think Russell's perspective isn't necessarily telling AD
no,
what to
I
do.
don't. I don't think
There's
that his
more.
comment was ill intent.
Yeah, but I think it's more in the fact that he's saying AD because I'm gonna imagine this. We're probably gonna see AD and Westbrook together on the floor more than we're gonna see AD and LeBron. I can
Yeah.
picture this like Westbrook, like he's just gonna continually keep feeding AD. Like he's gonna make sure AD gets a touch of the ball like every play.
Yeah, I could see a situation too where the lineup shift between like Russell Westbrook, AD, and I'll say I think DeAndre Jordan would make the most sense with them. I don't know who you'd have shooting guard and small forward, but I think those three would make sense together. And then having like LeBron, Melo, and like Dwight Howard on the floor together at the same time would make a bunch of sense between
Uh,
lineup shifts.
I just remember like the rest of Westbrook quote. Why I really like the comment because he opened up by saying that AD he thinks AD is their secret weapon on the team. Well, I'm not sure if he said secret, but he said
Okay,
ultimate weapon. I think.
I say
Yeah,
secret
because I'm not
weapon.
gonna
That's
say
not secret.
secret. Yeah, yeah, it's the ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he meant anything bad by that. Like I said, I don't think it was necessary to tell the
Mm,
media. It's probably true that he wants to just
yeah,
get AD to be a little bit more fiery,
yeah.
which is right. I think he could be a beast if he's more angry on the floor, or more of a beast, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even think it's necessarily like playing with anger. It's just more so just being assertive. Like let's just call it like Tim Duncan, since same position and all. Like as Tim was quiet and always calm and collected, but in the four quarters, he always got the ball and was like really active in the offense and like
Aggressive.
driving it home. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. All right. I think it's time to talk about my favorite topic.
Oh
I'll
yeah, just
I'll start off and set the scene here. Ben Simmons, whatever you want to call him,
the break.
is now wanted back in Philadelphia after months of hate and anger. The fan base doesn't want him back. I'm pretty sure that's clear.
Yeah. Hmm.
However, the players in the organization have now decided months later, after not necessarily throwing him under the bus, but some rough side comments, Doc Rivers comments, everything. Now all of a sudden they want him back. He's here. He wants to be back. Ben Simmons doesn't want to talk to them. He says no, thank you. Uh, Joel Embiid said he wants him back now, which is very interesting. And the biggest thing with that is he said it's a distraction to the team and he's not going to deal with it anymore. He said that's on the organization. He's going to focus on the team and the players that are there now. Respect that, but you didn't have to make the comment initially saying that you want Ben Simmons back. I personally think you should have zipped your lips on that. Don't say anything.
You should have did exactly what I said
Yeah.
last week.
And then Doc Rivers is clamoring for Ben Simmons now too. That was a week ago. Still worth talking about. Ben Simmons is also owed $8 million. Sixers organization said no, 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 no. We are not paying you that unless you come back and figure this out. So I will let you have the floor now that we know what the topic is. Go ahead.
I think I've decided it's official. Doc Rivers, I thought it over a week. You're no longer my favorite coach. Eric Spoelstra, you have the crown. Joel Embiid, why? Why could you not have just listened to me? You do not go out to the media and then tell them you want him back after initially like throwing him under the bus. Like, just hold your point and own it. Like, I understand. I'm glad that after Ben Simmons like started saying Embiid is clogging like his lane and all of that, and B clapped back saying how like the Sixers like kept trying to put him in that situation to have the ball in his hands, and he's at his best when he's being a facilitator, whatnot. And then he clapped back and saying, "Yeah, essentially saying the Sixers made a mistake in keeping you and not keeping Jimmy instead."
Yeah.
But I like all that clapback, and now you think you're focused on the team, but still, all of that would have seemed so much better if you just led with that and did not start asking for him back initially. And now I said I'm gonna leave Ben alone for a while, but now I'm gonna get back to him again. Thank you, Ben. I'm glad we're still on the same page. You want to be gone, and I still want you gone. But but I do definitely have to say that I've heard like people like Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins, those guys saying Ben Simmons acting soft, being weak, or whatnot. I got into a little like text exchange. My perspective on it is this: obviously, like I'm not. Obviously, like the death threats and stuff come from fans, like that's unacceptable. Like I don't even need to go there because like even when Danny Green missed that one shot for the Lakers and then he was getting death threats, like no. My problem with Ben Simmons is why I do agree that he's soft and weak, and I'm glad he brought out how Allen Iverson a warrior because Stephen A. Smith brought something up. He said he always because he used to work for the Philadelphia Inquirer, so he defends Sixers fans a lot. He said the Sixers fan base is one of the best fan base in the league for the reason if you are holding up your end of the deal, they they will support you and love you to death. But if you aren't, they will hold you accountable, which I think is very rational and fair. Like you gotta earn the love and respect and loyalty. Plus, they have stuck with you from your rookie year. Even though we saw how bad you played in the playoffs your rookie year, like we said, all right, he's young. We'll give him another chance. We kept doing that. Like we defended him like multiple times, but now we at the boiling point. And the problem that like having with Simmons now is that he from day one, even back to his rookie year before we turned it against him, from day one, not once. If you can recall, Evan, free to jump in, but not once do I recall Simmons ever holding himself accountable. Like that's the problem I have with him, and why I say it is soft and weak, and why like they're saying Simmons is acting like this when you were the one who aren't holding up your end of the deal for the franchise. And and it's interesting because I've heard them also say Simmons had initially like started to get turned off from the Sixers franchise when during the whole James Harden like potential trade fiasco, and like because when he knew that his name was brought up, like the Sixers were considering. making a change for him. I think it was around the same time Daryl Morey came to the Sixers, so how convenient. So that pissed him off. But again, like remember when MB came out and said, is Steph if the Warriors were offering Steph and Clay over here to the Sixers, um, I'm pretty sure I would be on the trading block. Hell, I would make that trade too if I were them. That was hilarious hearing that from Embiid. But yeah, Ben Simmons, he just acted like a prima donna, and his ego is so big, but his play value is just not up there with it. Like I'm just gonna look at James Harden like, you're Ben Simmons, and the Sixers are looking with you for James Harden. Like I don't even know how the hell you could really be insulted by that. I mean, if they said they were going to trade you for Emmanuel Mudiay, then I'm with you 100%. But for James Harden, like, come on. But still, regardless, Simmons, Simmons, he lost the fan support, and instead of like trying to earn it back, he wants to hightail it out of here. So that's what really the big turnoff is with Simmons right now in this whole fiasco, because the lack of accountability that he's shown for himself over the years, despite how much like he's been defended.
Okay, here's the thing. I agree. I don't think I've heard him take account for really much of anything. So I will give you that. Um, in terms of him giving the Sixers the silent treatment, I don't agree with. I know he doesn't want to be there, but I think you could voice that displeasure with the organization face to face and player to player. I guess my perspective of it is he's 2 years older than us. And I think even at our age, anyone could be a bit dramatic. So I'm going to assume the same for someone who's 25 years old. But the problem is, I feel like when you're avoiding everything face to face, it's more of I'm going to be petty and I also want to be dramatic because I don't want to be convinced to come back. I think he's afraid that if he meets with everyone face to face, he's going to eventually end up convincing himself maybe I should come back. But I think he's trying to keep that hate inside as much as possible for that organization that he doesn't want to meet with them and he doesn't want to be convinced otherwise, and he wants out before he interacts with them again. Now, in regard to him being soft and being compared to Allen Iverson, I don't like the comparison because I do agree that Philly treats their own well as long as there's success there.
Meaning, if you are contributing to them, because I'm not sure they have not turned their back on Embiid.
Yes, but my thing is the bridge between Ben Simmons and the Sixers fans is completely burnt. There's no way, and I think that this has got to be something that people give Simmons credit for, is there's no way he should go back there. There's absolutely no way he should play in that arena again as the home team. Because no matter what he does this year, he can probably put up a 40-point game in front of that crowd, but no one's going to forget about last year. He's going to be booed nonetheless.
Well, yeah. I mean, we did see him put up a 40-point game in the regular season.
Right.
This season that ended
right.
Rudy Gobert. Yeah.
So I don't think there's any reason he should come back. It's not fair to him, and it's not fair to the fans. The fans hate everything that he did for them this last year, and that's fine. I think that he gave good cause. But at the same time, that means don't force Ben Simmons to go and get booed for 42 games or 41 games a year.
Exactly.
It's not fair to him. He should be in a new environment, and this trade should have been made a long time ago. It should have been made over a month ago at least. Now they're trying to do all these pretend tactics with what they say to the media. Ooh, we got all these good offers, when realistically they're not getting crap. That's the way it is, and they're trying to act like they're getting all these great value trades, but they're not getting anything. That's the only reason he's not gone. So it's upsetting because I feel bad for Simmons, and I don't. He's a young kid, so to get so much hate because I think he plays afraid, which is straight up, he plays afraid, and that's bad for basketball. But as such a as a 25-year-old to receive so much hate, I'm sure it's difficult. But when you're playing in a big city, it would have been the same in New York too. He would have been absolutely hated in New York if he made the same mistakes. So the reality is, any big city is going to hate him for that. It's just difficult when you have someone who seems to be low confidence dealing with this negativity, which is rightfully placed. You,
But still, even with the whole, it's even hard to like even call him like say that like there's a lack of confidence. Like yeah, he does play scared, but it's funny. He's scared on the court, but when he's off the court, he's not at all.
no, yeah, he
He's the
has
exact opposite.
he has too
He's
much
arrogant.
confidence. Yeah, off the court where he feels like he's above everyone.
Yeah, like there were instances where like I think after like one of the games, like when they were I think it was Miami, like maybe 2 seasons ago, the team was down in Miami, they had a game and Simmons decided to stay back up for some extra days and not tell the team why everyone else was going back to Philly.
Remember? Oh man, remember when he was on Twitch? He was playing with someone, and they're like, "Who do you play tomorrow?" And he goes, "Oh, you could stay up all night." I forgot who it was. He was playing with another player, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know. And I don't like hearing that this entire team was built around him because I don't believe that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I will say that they have tried to like
They've
to
tried to help him.
accommodate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. I mean, I'll say it 100 more times. If Simmons doesn't want to score, all I would want from him is 10 points and 20 assists a game. And
Yeah.
I know that's a lot, but
Yeah.
that
Essentially
that's asking you
the
to
role.
shoot the ball minimally and just facilitate. That's because that's all he wants to do.
Yeah.
It seems like he only wants to facilitate. But we're just asking you to just shoot the wide open shots.
Yeah, you see why it's also a problem that I think like I haven't voiced this enough, but I definitely think of it. Look at Rajon Rondo back in his prime. Terrible jump shooter, terrible free throw shooter. But what did he do? He could give you 10 and 20. Even we've even seen him like in his older years with the Pelicans that scored like maybe like 2 points in the game, but he had like 20 assists. Like
Yeah.
that's not that's not what Sims are giving you. And Rondo at 6'1" can generally give you like 10 points, but Simmons, you're 6'10". Like you have that same kind of athleticism, ball handling, and maybe passing skill Rondo has, but you have the size to make it easier to get at the rim. Where Rondo at that small, it's harder for him to get to the rim, and he can't shoot either.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's unfair for Stephen A to call him soft and compare him to Iverson. Like he might be soft, but for the reasoning being that he won't return to Philadelphia, I don't think anyone in their right mind after that season would return to Philly as Ben Simmons. Like,
Yeah, I think it would have been drafted too because
yeah,
we know Ben Simmons and Allen Iverson. They grew up in two completely
yeah,
different lifestyles. So AI was always a dog.
yeah, and I don't think really any player would want to come back to that. So
I mean, LeBron did go back to Cleveland.
that was years later. He let him think about what they were saying. I will say this: I do believe that if Ben Simmons, assuming Ben Simmons won't be back this year,
Mhm.
and assuming the compensation is minimal, who's to start the backup point guard for the Sixers?
It's a good question. I think it was it Shake Milton.
I was gonna say I wasn't sure if Shake Milton was playing shooting guard or point guard. Either way, I think that if you get minimal compensation and Simmons leaves, I feel like the whole team is going to regress more than anyone thinks.
Oh, I
Like
think it's gonna regress too
I think
because
that they're going to fall from they were the 1 seed this year. I think they'll fall to 4th seed or worse.
yeah, the thing is, what's really held the Sixers together is because, especially in the regular season, is the impact he has on the defensive end.
Yeah,
Like, while we may see like they're often get sloppy, like they're always a tough team for teams to score on.
yeah. His defense is really good, and whether anyone likes it or not, he's still the best facilitator on the team. Um,
Yeah, and the thing is too, is because of the difference in the style of play. In the regular season, there's so many open court, fast break
yeah.
opportunities, but then it obviously changes in the playoff when you're forced to run the half court more.
Yeah, so I think this team's going to get way worse without him. I do. I think Embiid will be great still, but now you're going to have to run 100% of your offense through Embiid. And I know Simmons was getting a partial share of that, and I know he wasn't scoring, but he was able to find guys like Seth Curry or Thibault around the perimeter or inside the mid-range shots that were, usually tough passes to see or tough angles to make the pass.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to miss a lot of that, and unless they have a reasonable replacement, I think they're in trouble. An interesting
Yeah.
idea would be now I hate the if you had Reggie Jackson come in and replace Ben Simmons. I don't think he's as great of a distributor, but you have someone that's scoring at least, so you're going to get more outright points. And it would be curious to see Ben Simmons on the Clippers with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, because all you'd be asked to do is distribute. At that point, there's no reason for you to be shooting the ball at all. I would like to see that, and the defense would be phenomenal. PG, Kawhi, and Ben Simmons in your backcourt and frontcourt. That would be beautiful.
I got a better idea. It's like a package Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons to Portland and snatch Damian Lillard. Chauncey Billups, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to aggravate Damian Lillard this year.
I don't even know if they would accept that.
Throw some picks in there.
I was gonna say you're gonna need 2 or 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, we don't need no more. Process is over.
Well, yeah, if you get Damian Lillard, those picks are gonna be like 28 or 30, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what happens with Damian Lillard. There's a few guys I think that are gonna be moving in the NBA in the next few years. De'Aaron Fox is another one because as you know, with star players, they hate losing, and if they're alone on a team, eventually they're gonna leave. And De'Aaron Fox is the only one with that much talent. Marvin Bagley and the rest of the team's not bad, and Buddy Hield, but that team's never going to be good enough to go anywhere.
Mhm.
So, Zach LaVine's another one if DeMar DeRozan doesn't work out, where
And
he could go.
Lonzo.
And Lonzo.
Well,
Trae Young's got a
you
good
never
roster
know.
around him, so I think he'll stay for a bit.
Send Lonzo to Charlotte.
I think that I could see a situation where Trae Young and Zach LaVine team up, and that would be a good combo. Imagine if you had Trae Young. What if they did a little three? Like a younger big three, and it was like Trae Young, Zach LaVine, and Zion all on the same team.
I think it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, because I feel like we're missing that. We got a lot of veterans together, but like the thing with young players too, since they're new to the league, there's way more effort on both sides of the ball. Even if they're not scoring as easily, it feels like there's way more energy in their game. So it's fun to watch 3 guys all together that are like full blown energy in the starting lineup, 3 stars.
Speaking of Zion, there's going to be a point in time where he's going to be looked at under the microscope more. We're going to say, all right, Zion, we've seen like all of this from Duke. When are you going to bring like your game up some more? Because like right now, in all honesty, I'm of the opinion that John Moran is better than him.
He is Zion Williamson is the John Collins of his generation. Like John Collins is a couple years in where he's like that. He's kind of like that all-star, but he's very under the radar all-star. He'll get the stats and stuff. He's almost like Kevin Love when he was on the Timberwolves too, where it's just like a weird team around him where he's contributing a lot, but it's not notable. Not much to talk about unless he's going to be on a team with other guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. If you could have a pair of 3 guys, 25 and under, to team up on a basketball team, who are you taking?
No, that's a tough question. Oh well, number one first.
Well, I know who you're putting number 1.
Is Luka Magic. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2. You see, because I'm trying to match play styles too to make sure it's like it could work. Geez, hell, DeAndre Ayton.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I was saying I definitely need a big man in there, and now 3. I'll say Jason Tatum.
I like it. Hear me out. Luka, Jason Tatum, and Ben Simmons.
I know.
Okay, I understand, but imagine. So now you're making Ben Simmons your primary ball handler, and now you're
Th-
allowing.
That's compromising Luca.
I think that helps Luca just focus on pure scoring.
That's compromised, but Simmons is gonna is a ball dominant. Luca, when he's off the ball, he's literally not active at all.
You know what? You're right. I'll take Send Simmons out of there. Um, Man, I think that's tough. I think that Jason Tatum and Luca are a given. Um,
Yeah,
it's just who I would put around that.
it would make sense to have a big there with them, but the only one the notable mentioning I could think of is Aiton.
I mean, you could say Zion. Um,
He's 6'6". Nah.
he's the goat. Best. Let's look at this. Best NBA players, 25 and under. Because I know I'm missing someone.
Oh, LaMelo Ball.
No. Okay, so this is the group we got that we could choose from here. We got we got Luca, Jason Tatum, Ben Simmons. This is the order that it came up on Google too. So it came up with that team first. Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Zion Williamson, Bam, De'Aaron Fox. Jokic is 26, so he's out of it. Jamal Murray, Brandon Ingram, Jalen Brown. Karl Anthony Towns is only 25. That can't be right.
That oh no, that's right. Because when was he drafted? Our junior year in high school, right? Or was it our senior? No, it was our
Yeah,
senior year was his rookie year. So yeah, he had 2 years on us.
really? No.
Wow.
It
What?
feels like
That
he's been
means,
in the league for like 10 years.
well, I mean, maybe we're just getting old.
Um, John Collins, DeAndre Eaton, Miles Turner, LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball, Michael Porter Jr., Colin Sexton, Jared Allen. So, I mean, with that said, I mean, I guess you would say Luka, Tatum, and Towns.
Yeah.
Be a good squad. All right. If you could have one point guard,
Mhm.
or if you could have one guard and one big man to pair in the entire league, no matter the age, what are you picking?
All right. For point guards, I'm talking like true point guards, and not point forwards ish.
You could
True
do
point
point
guard.
guard or shooting guard.
Okay, so true guards. Okay, I am gonna go. Hmm. I think. Oh, a shooting guard. Oh, that makes it hard. No, I think this will be interesting. Imagine Steph Curry and Jokic.
That's exactly
No,
what I was thinking.
well, or it's funny because this style's gonna be different, but it could actually be just as effective. Steph and Embiid.
I kid you not. My thought was either Steph and Jokic or Steph and Embiid. And
Yeah,
I
that
said I
it's
said Embiid. My thought was Embiid would get more rebounding and give him more in the paint, while Jokic would find Steph Curry open more and get him more open shots.
yeah.
So
But
it's interesting.
and the thing is, Embiid, like, 'cause we know, like, with Steph and Jokic, like, the defensively, that team is flawed. But with Embiid, it kind of makes up for that with him
Imagine
and Steph together.
imagine if Jokic went to the Warriors and it was him, Clay, and Steph.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch basketball. But that's gonna remember what we were scared of about Boogie Cousins going there, saying God it didn't happen. If Jokic goes there, that is really gonna happen.
Could you imagine that those three though against who do you think would win? Those three or KD, Harden, and Kyrie?
Steph, Clay, KD, Harden, Kyrie. Honestly, I'm gonna go Steph, Clay, and Jokic
I think
because
solely
of
because of the paint.
not even just that. I think just their style of play is gonna like I don't know. It's just gonna synchronize. I think they're really gonna feed off each other and make each other like play at their best. Whereas KD, Harden, and Kyrie, Like they're just a bunch of individual talents that are hard to stop. So
Oh,
it's pretty much a your turn, dribble, dribble, score. Your turn, dribble, dribble, score.
well, and I've said this too before. Steph, out of everyone in the NBA, if I could play with one person, it'd be Steph, because it always looks like no matter what's happening, he's having fun on the floor and he's got a positive attitude.
Yeah.
Um, I I think that too, where you're just playing the game and it's that much fun to you. I think that the chemistry gels really easily too with the rest of the team, so that makes it even
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, because even that game where Draymond Green decided to take a game-winning half-court shot instead of giving
Yeah,
it to Steph, like, he just looked and looked away. He didn't react or anything. He just let it go.
so can you imagine his positive attitude and Jokic just joking with the press conferences and everything? Like that would be such a
Yeah.
fun locker room.
Jokic is he's I think he's a Tim Duncan in the NBA right now.
He was at one of the games yesterday for football. He was
Mhm.
throwing around a football. He was just like looking at it like it was some wild object, but it was really funny. It's my favorite. I don't think we got any other topics to cover.
Yeah, I think we're Gucci.
All right. Without further ado, hope you all have a great week. Yankees Red Sox Tuesday in Boston. Keep an eye on that. Winner advances playoffs. Loser goes home. Some good football games this upcoming Sunday. Nothing too crazy. Jets in London as well. Giants versus Cowboys should be a couple good games. Tonight, Chargers versus Raiders Monday Night Football. Don't think there's anything else going on. We got some preseason basketball, I believe, is starting as well. So other than that, if you've watched that, if you'd like to watch all the bench players play or all the G League players play, go for it. But have a good week.
A quick reminder to any of you who watching this that are in the ESPN Fantasy Draft Day is coming up in about, let's see, almost 2 weeks, October 16th, Saturday, 3 p.m. So can't wait for the NBA season to start on the 19th.
Yes. Also, I do want to give a quick shout out. There's also some WNBA games on Wednesday, semifinals. The Sun versus Sky and Aces versus Mercury as they work towards the WNBA finals. So if that's something that interests you as well, some good matchups. And sad that my Liberty aren't there, but they're never usually that good. Had a decent season. Other than that, hope you all have a great week, and we will see you all next Sunday.
To me and you, I want you, I love you. Can I touch you, I rub, let me love you. Put my dreams to the side only cause I trust you. Girl, I trust you, I love you, won't judge you.